Hello guys, in this video we are going to create this simple Dr. Finder application step by step with no step skipped. I have worked on and completed the full document for this project with all the sections and diagrams required, like the use case and the DFD diagrams. Click on the link below to get the complete source code, plus the document and some additional support from me. I did it all so that you don't have to and that you can save on time and possible headaches. Thank you. So we are going to have a splash screen, and then you are going to have this onboarding screen, which you can swipe like this. This is a feature that you see in many applications, okay? So you're just gonna swipe it like that. And then at the end here, you can click on the login button to log into the application. So this is going to be the login page. And as you can see, these are similar design because I used it in my previous application. But this is the login screen, but we can also register as a user. And here, we are going to be able to upload an image, and then you are going to be able to enter our details here. And also, we are going to use Google Maps API to search our location, okay? And then you're going to click on register to register, all right? Also, a user can register as a doctor. So if they register as a doctor, they're going to be directed to this page, and they can select a profile image, and they can give all these details. They can select an area of specialization. For this, I just wanted to keep it simple, and I just went with a simple list of like eyes, ears, nose, just something simple. And they can also enter their location. So it's possible to create an application where the application itself checks your location and gets that automatically. But I wanted us to have a situation where we can search the location, because maybe the doctor wants to enter the location of their clinic or something. So for example, you can come here to search a location, and here you can just enter the location that you want. So maybe I can type maybe New York, for example. And as you can see right here, I get suggestions, and maybe you can type a more specific location, and you're gonna get that location suggested here. So you're gonna use a Google Maps and also the Places API to be able to achieve that functionality. So once they have registered, they can now come here and sign in. So I'm gonna sign in here as a user. So I'm gonna log in with this account. With this user account I had created earlier, and I'm gonna click on sign in. Okay, so once you are signed in successfully to the application, so as you can see at the top here, we get an upcoming booking with this particular doctor, the date, and also the time. And then we can get the different specializations of the different doctors here. And then we can be able to see the nearby doctors here. And as you can see here, it's calculating the location, the distance from where we are. For example, for Sarakim here is just that 6.2 kilometers. For the other one is 5.3 kilometers, etc. And I can also click on this view all to navigate to the doctor screen. And here you can be able, we are going to be able to load all the doctors here, but we can also be able to filter the different kind of doctors. Maybe we want doctors for the eyes, for example. We can just click on the eyes here, and again we load that doctor. For the ears, for example, we just click on that and we get that. This one is for the nose. Sorry, I did not get quite the best icons here to represent that, but you get the idea. And also this one is for the teeth. You can just filter them like that. And if we have a situation where we don't have a doctor, it's just going to say that we do not have any doctors available in that category. But you can also click on show all, and then you are going to be able to see all the doctors here. Also, we have search doctor here, functionality to be able to search the doctors in the application. So if I click on one of these doctor, for example, let me click on Brian Russell, for example. So once I click on that, we are directed to this page here. As you can see, we have their image load here, we have their location, their ratings here, we have their phone number, a button to send them an image here, the number of patients that they have had, their experience, reviews, also their about here. But most importantly, we can select date and time to book an appointment with this person. So let me say, for example, I want to book an appointment with this person for maybe to check the eyes or whatever, because this is an eye doctor. You can just tap on here to select a date, and maybe I want it to be on 2nd of May, for example. I just tap on 2nd and click on OK. And as you can see, it updates this button here. So if I want to select the time, I just tap on here to select the time. And I can select the time. For example, I can go and choose maybe 6:30 p.m. for example. I can change here if I want to change it to AM or PM. I can do that if I want, and I can click on OK. So by clicking OK, it also select that time here. So if I want to book an appointment, I can now click on the book appointment button here. And with that, we have booked the appointment successfully, as you can see from this pop-up here. Cool. So another thing that I can do is I can go to messages. I can click on this message button to send him a message. So and that is going to direct me to to this chat page here, which I'm gonna chat with Brian Russell. So I can send him a message. I can say, "Hi, Brian," and I can click on send message to send the message. So as you can see now, that message is saved and it's also retrieved from Firestore. So if I can go back again, and if I go to bookings now at the bottom here, if I click on bookings, so it's going to load all the bookings that I have made. These are the upcoming bookings, okay? So it's going to look at the date and also the time. So if that date is passed and that time is passed, it's going to go to past bookings here. So these are some of the bookings that I had done before for testing and whatnot. As you can see, the one that you have just created now, I think is this one here. The one for March 2nd at 6:30. So if I go to past bookings here, as you can see, I can load the bookings that we made in the past. All right. So finally, if I go to chat, so this is going to load the chats that I have made. Okay. So as you can see, I made this chat with Brian, but I tried one with Anna Baker before. So if I click on Anna Baker, as you can see, I sent her a message and she replied, and I can also send her a message again. As you can see, if I send her a message, it appears here like that. So I'm going to create this application with Flutter and Firebase Firestore. And I'm also going to use Firebase Storage to store these images. We're also going to use Firebase Authentication for authentication. And also, I'm going to use Riverpod for state management. So the first thing that we are going to do is to navigate to the folder where we want to create our project. And I'm going to go to this folder and I'm going to go to the address bar and type CMD. And now here I'm gonna create my Flutter project. So Flutter create, and I'm gonna call it Dr. Finder. And that command will create my Flutter project. So my Flutter project has been created and here it is. So I'm gonna open it with Android Studio, but feel free to use VS Code. So the project has been opened successfully. So let me change here to project, and here is our main.dat file. So the first thing that I like to do is to run this project to ensure that everything is working on as intended. So I'm gonna use the emulator. So I'm just gonna open my emulator here. But of course, you can run it with your own physical device. And maybe before I run the application, I just wanted to show you the Flutter and that version that I'm using. So I'm gonna just go to the CMD here. So I'm using Flutter 3.29.3 and I'm using that 3.7.2. And now let me just run this application real quickly. So I have run the application and everything seems to be working fine. So let us get started now. So I want us first to start with our splash screen. So our splash screen is gonna look like this. We are gonna have this logo here and we are gonna have this text come from this side. So I already did this same splash screen in the blood donation application. So be sure to look at that video, which I'm gonna link in the description for a more detailed explanation. But for this video, I'm just gonna brush through and I'm gonna just go fast so that we can save on time. Okay, so we are gonna go to this lib and I'm going to create a new folder, which I'm just going to call features. And inside the features, I'm going to create yet another folder, which I'm going to call intro screens. Inside this new folder, I'm going to create now the splash screen here. And this splash screen is going to be a stateful widget, which I'm gonna call splash screen. So since we want to have an animation, we are going to extend this with single ticker provided state mixin. So we have two animations here because the logo is going to animate on its own and the text is going to animate on its own. So again, I did this in my blood donation application. For a more detailed explanation, be sure to look at that. So that is our logo animation. So by offset 0.1, it means that it's gonna come from up and then it's gonna drop until somewhere in the center. All right. So we are gonna do the same for the text animation. but the text is going to move from left to right, so it's gonna to be -1 to 0. So it's gonna move from left and then it's gonna end at the dead center of the screen, and the animation is just gonna remain the same. And so here we are gonna say controller.forward like that. And then once that is done, we are then now going to navigate to the next screen. And for that, I'm going to create a method inside of this class. I'm going to create it inside of this class. So it's going to be a feature of type void. So it's navigate to the next screen. It's going to be an async method. So here I want us to do something. So remember the screen that I showed you. So I want when the animation is over, we are going to be directed to this screen, which I'm going to call the onboarding screen. But this screen should only be shown once when we install this application for the very first time. That is the only time you are going to be seeing this onboarding screen. So that when you go out of the application and you start it again, you don't have to see this onboarding screen. We just want to see it just once when we install the application for the first time. And to ensure that, we are going to use a package called shared preferences. And therefore, to use shared preferences, we are going to install that package. So you are going to go to pubspec.yaml file, and I'm going to install shared preferences. So to do that, you can just go to pub.dev to get the shared preferences, or you can just go to the terminal and do flutter pub add shared _ preferences. But what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna paste it here, and then I'm gonna just run pub.get, and that is gonna install shared preferences. So I'm gonna go back to this first screen, and in here now I'm going to use this package. So final prefs equals to await shared preferences .get instance. And then now from here, we are going to direct our user. And for directing the user, I want us to use the GoRouter package, okay? And therefore, we are going to install the GoRouter in the pubspec.yaml file. So here, we are going to install our GoRouter. And now, we are going to use the GoRouter. And now here, we are going to add a route, or here we are going to declare a route that the user is going to be directed to. What I need to do is to go to lib, and I'm going to create yet a new folder, and this folder I'm going to call it routes, and inside these routes I'm going to now create my routes here. So this I'm just going to call it routes, and now here I'm going to now declare my routes. So the first thing that I want to do is that I'm going to create an enum of all the app routes that I want to use in this app. So these are all the app routes that you are going to use, that the splash, onboarding, sign in, main, doctor register, user register, doctor details, account, chat, and conversation. So these are all the app routes that you are going to use. And now I'm going to create a GoRouter object that you are going to declare all these routes, and we are going to provide those routes with the Riverpod package. So the Riverpod is a state management package that you are going to use to provide these routes to the rest of the application. And therefore, I'm just going to install Riverpod package and some other packages that are used together with Riverpod. So again, I'm going to go to pubspec.yaml file, and in here I'm gonna add Flutter Riverpod. I'm also gonna add Riverpod annotation package. Okay, inside dev dependencies under these Flutter links, I'm going to add build runner, and I'm also going to add Riverpod generator package. And with those 4 packages added, I'm just going to run pub-get once again. And with that, all the packages have been installed. So let me go back to routes. I'm going to add the Riverpod annotation here. And then now I'm going to say GoRouter. So here, I'm going to set the initial location as splash. We are going to show debug log diagnostics. We are going to add the routes. So inside this intro screens, I'm going to create a new file, which I'm going to call onboarding. And the onboarding screen is going to be a stateful widget, import material that. And after moving to the splash screen, we are going to go to the onboarding screen. So let me import it here. And inside the features, I'm going to create a new folder, which I'm going to call authentication. And inside authentication, I'm going to structure my folder just the way I structured them in the blood donation application. So inside the screens, I'm going to create the sign-in screen here. And the sign-in screen is going to be a consumer stateful widget. Let me import Riverpod, and I'm also going to import material.dat file, like that. So for now, this is going to just return a scaffold. And in the routes, I'm going to import the sign-in screen, like that, just to eliminate those errors. And now I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna go back to the splash screen. I'm just gonna navigate the user to the sign-in screen. But we are gonna come back here and edit this a bit later. So we have a controller that we need to dispose. So the controllers need to be disposed, and we have the controller, which I'm going to dispose it here. So here we are going to return a scaffold, and it has a background color. So the background color that we are going to use a blue color. And that blue color, I want us to define it because we are going to use it in many places in the app. And just instead of declaring it here, I want us to create yet another folder where we are going to have our styles, okay? So I'm going to go to lib, and I'm going to add yet another folder, which I'm going to call util. And inside these utils, I'm going to create a file, which I'm going to call app styles. And again, inside the utils, I want us to create yet another file, which I'm going to call size config. So this is going to be our size config, okay? So we get the screen height, the screen width, okay? We have this method init, okay, which gets the screen width using the media query. So media query.ofContext.size.width. And you also get the screen height with media query.ofContext.size.height. And then you have these two methods, get proportionate height, okay, which is going to take a double input height, and then we are gonna return that height divided by 812, and then multiplying it by the screen height that we get here, okay? And we do the same for the screen width. Nice. So let me go back to the app styles. So this is the app styles. We're defining the different styles that we are going to use in the app. That is the heading, the title, and the normal text style. Okay, and here at the bottom, we have this main color. So this is the blue color that I was talking about earlier. And since we are going to use it in multiple locations, it's better that we define it here. So we are going to just be saying that app styles.main color to fetch that color automatically, instead of typing it out every single time. So if I can go back to the splash screen, so the background here is going to be app styles.main color to get that blue color, okay? And now we are going to create our body. For the purpose of saving time, I'm just gonna do it quickly here, and then I'm gonna see you after I'm done. So here I have defined the body, which is a center widget, and is going to have a column. And this column is going to show the slide animation for the logo, okay, and also for the text, okay. And as you can see, the text for the text, as you can see, we apply the text animation, and for the image here, we apply the logo animation, okay. And for the text here, again, you can see we use our app styles to give the title text style, okay, and the other text here we use the normal text style. Nice. So I'm gonna go to assets, and then we are gonna add this logo. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna add a new folder here, which I'm gonna call assets. Inside it, I'm going to create a new folder. This one I'm gonna call images, and I'm gonna create yet another one, which I'm gonna call font. Okay, so in images, I'm going to just copy an image. So I'm going to copy that image, this doc logo image. So this is the logo that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to copy it in that folder. And I want us to paste another image, which we are not going to use right now, but we are going to use it in the sign-in screen, and that is the placeholder image. And I'm going to paste it here. And this is the placeholder image, and we are going to use it in the sign-in screen. Okay, so let me close that. So this line here is going to get that image, and to ensure that everything works, we are going to go to pubspec.yaml file, and inside here we are going to edit this part. So I'm just going to uncomment this, and I'm going to change here to assets/images/. So this is going to provide all the images inside of this asset folder. Okay, so another thing, as you can remember, inside these app styles, we are using this font family called Madimi1. So we want to get that font. So to get that font, you can go to your browser and you can go to fonts.google.com, and here you can search that font, Madimi1. Okay, so this is the font that I want to use. All right, and now you can click on this get font, and then you can download it. You can download the font here. Okay, and so once you download it here, it is going to be saved, of course, in your computer, and inside there you are going to see the Madimi1 -regular, and you are going to copy it, and then you are going to paste it here in the fonts. So it has that .ttf extension at the end. So this is the font that you are going to use, Madimi1 -regular.ttf. Okay, so once you have done that, we are going to go back to pubspec.yaml file. We are going to uncomment them. Okay, and the family is Madimi1. We're just going to call it Madimi1 like that. We are going to change here to assets/font/ and then you type this name here, this name of the font, like that. So with that for images and the font, I'm going to run pub.get to ensure that we get all the latest dependencies. So here I remember we did not use this variable here. So I want us to show the user the onboarding screen, but if they have already seen it, I want them to be directed to the sign-in screen. And here I forgot to add an extra curly brace here. Okay, like that. And now we can go to the onboarding screen. In the onboarding screen is where we are going to design this screen here. And the onboarding screen is a stateful widget, of course. And then we want to create a method that is going to keep track of the page that we are in and update the data accordingly. So but as you can remember, at the top here, we have this skip button at the top here. As you can see, we have it here. And when we click on that skip, we want to go to the last page, okay? And we are going to define a method for that. And what's going to happen here is that we are just going to call another method, which I'm going to call complete onboarding. And now we need to define this method complete onboarding. So I'm going to come out here, and it's going to be a feature of type void, yeah, like that. And here we want to access the shared preferences once again. We want now to change the has seen onboarding variable to true so that we don't see it again. Okay, and then here I want us to navigate to the sign-in. Okay, so the auto completion here just worked just fine for us. And let me import this from GoRouter. So another thing, since we are using a controller here, we can override the dispose method, and then we are gonna dispose our controller here. So page controller.dispose. So this method skip, we are going to call it inside the build method. When we tap on that skip text, okay, we return a scaffold, and in the body of that scaffold, we are going to return a stack. And a stack is basically a widget that allows you to place other widgets on top of other widgets. Okay, so here we return our page view builder, and we set our controller, and we set our item counts, which is our list dot length to get the length of that particular list. Okay, and here on page changed of this page view builder, we pass our method here, our method on page changed here. Okay, and of course at the top we display the text skip, and when we tap on that, as you can see, we call this on tap method, and we want to go to the very last page. And remember, since we are inside a stack, we can be able to use this positioned widget to place it wherever we want it on the page. And remember, at the bottom we have those little buttons here. They are not real buttons, they are just containers that indicate the page that we are in. Okay, and we also change the sizes depending on whether we are in that particular page or not. Also, if we are in the last page, that is what happens. If we are in the last page, we create the elevated button, okay, which has the blue color. Okay, and it's going to have a text of login to the application. I want us to go to the main screen, and I want to change everything here in the main screen. So the first thing I'm gonna change here is that I'm gonna call it Dr. Finder app, like that. We are gonna remove this thing that is appearing here, and I'm set it to false. And since you are using GoRouter to navigate, so I'm gonna change this from material app to material app.router. Okay, and inside here I'm gonna add now the router config property, and it's going to be ref.watch, and then you are gonna watch the GoRouter provider. And for that, I'm going to change this from a stateless widget to a consumer widget. And this is possible because we are using Flutter Riverpod. So I'm gonna import Flutter Riverpod. And now since you have changed this to consumer widget, so widget ref. So now we can use this ref to watch the GoRouter provider. And for that, let me go to the routes again. I want us to create a provider for this. So for that, I'm going to add a part.g.dat, like that. And since we imported if I open the pubspec.yaml file, since we have this Riverpod generator and we have this build runner, we are gonna now use those to create our provider automatically, and also to solve this error here. So I'm just gonna go to the terminal here. I'm going to run this command, .run build runner build delete conflicting outputs. So I'm going to run this. And with that, now you can see we have this routes.g.dat, which has created us a provider, the GoRouter provider, to provide the routes for the rest of the application. So I'm gonna go back to main, and now here I can say GoRouter provider, like that. We can now remove this home. We no longer need it. As you can see, it's no longer a property here. Now we are going to edit this a little bit. And now, since we are using Riverpod and we are incorporated it here, we need to go to the root of the application, which is the run app here. And we are gonna wrap my app with a widget, and the widget which is required here is the provider scope, like that. Now with that, and since we don't have any other errors, we can try to run the application and see the progress that we have for now. And here I see, here I did not change this to onboarding, sorry. Like that. Yeah. So let me run that again. I get yet another error. It says text animation has not been initialized. Oh, I made also another mistake here. So I did 2 logo animations here. So this one it was supposed to be a text animation, like that. Sorry once again for those stupid mistakes there. So I realized where the issue was. So first of all, in the splash screen, ensure that you give the background color to main color, so that this text here, giving it to text style of title, this, as you can remember, it is giving them a white color. So if you don't have this background, you're not gonna see your text. So with that, you can try to uninstall this application and install it again and see if everything will work as expected. Okay, so again, with that, we are done with the intro screens. We can just close that folder like that. And now we want to work on the sign-in screen. So this is how the sign-in screen looks. It has this logo at the top here. We have this text sign into account. We have these text fields here to enter email and password, a sign-in button, and we also have these 2 elevated buttons here to click on one to register as a user and one to register as a doctor. So in the sign-in screen, so first of all, because it is going to have some state changes, we are going to change this to a consumer stateful widget. I'm gonna create an email controller, and I'm also gonna have a password controller, and also I'm gonna dispose them like that. And now we can work on the build method. So here it says signing is not a subset of consumer widget. So what I need to do here, let me just restart the application again because we made these changes. So let me just restart it, because hot reloading it will not work because we changed the entire class here. So as you can see, we have that. Let us add a sized box to give some space, and then we are going to create now the text fields. So for that, since there are several text fields and we are gonna have multiple text fields, I'm gonna go to widgets here and I'm gonna create a new widget here, which I'm gonna call common text field. And the common text field is going to be a stateless widget. And let me just create it quickly. So like that, so it's gonna have a hint text, input type, obscure text, a boolean obscure text, and a text editing controller. And here, so it's a text form field, and we are gonna have the keyboard type, the controller, and we give it an input decoration, and inside of the decoration we give it a border, an outline input border, when it is enabled and when it is forecast. And we also give it a content padding of edges or symmetric of 10. Okay, again, I did this in blood donation, so I don't have to like repeat every single thing here, but basically this is what it is. So I'm just gonna save that. So after this sized box here, I'm gonna have the common text field, and the first one is going to have a hint text of enter email with a text input type of email. Okay, and I'm going to change this to email controller like that. Then after that, I'm going to add yet another sized box, and now we are gonna create another common text field. This one is going to be for password. Okay, so here for the password, I'm going to change this to text instead of the one that have been suggested. So now after that, I'm going to add yet another sized box to have some space of 20. And now here I'm going to create a button. So this button, we are going to use it in other places. So I'm just gonna create it in the common widgets here. I'm actually going to create yet another folder here, in the lib folder, and I'm going to name that folder common widgets. And I'm going to create my common button here like that. So I have created my common button, and it's going to take an on tap, a title, and it's loading. Okay, so inside the build method, we initialize the size config and we return an inkwell so that we can have the on tap method here. Okay, and also we can use just a detector, but an inkwell gives us a good visual feedback, so I prefer to use an inkwell here. The child is the container, and the container, everything is centered. Okay, it has that size. It has a size width of screen width, okay, and it has a color of main color and a border radius of 20. And in the child of that container, we are going to render it conditionally. So if this button has been clicked and it is loading, we are going to display a circular progress indicator, or else we are going to show the text that is going to be passed. So, and since this button is going to be used in multiple places, that is why I decided to create it like this. So let me go back to the sign-in screen, and now here we are going to create that common button here. So here we are going to create the common button like that. So here for is loading, for now I'm just gonna place false. For the title, I'm just going to give it sign in. And for the on top, I'm just going to have an empty method here like that. So if I save that, as you can see, now we have that button here. Nice. So the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to add yet another sized box here for some space. And I'm now going to create a text that tells us to either register as a user or as a doctor. And I'm just going to do that just quickly. Here we have that. So again, this is a design that I created earlier. So this is the text or, okay, which is of color black. And below it, we have another sized box here. And what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to create yet another common container that I'm going to use here at the bottom. So for that, I'm going to go to common widgets, and I'm going to create a new file, which I'm going to call common container. And this is going to be a stateless widget. So we have a common container like that, which is going to take a void callback on top and also a string text. So on top is going to be a method that is going to be triggered when we tap on that. And then the text is going to be the text that is going to be displayed on that container. So I'm going to go back to the sign-in screen. I'm going to now call the common button the common container. So the text is going to say register as a user like that. I'm going to have a sized box here, and I'm going to give it a height of 10. And yet another common container, and this one is going to be to say register as a doctor like that. So if I save that, we have those two containers appear at the bottom. So for the first one, I want us to direct the user to use a register like that. Okay, so I'm gonna import that and import the app routes. And the second one, I want to direct the user to the doctor register like that. So of course, we don't have this doctor register and user register screen just yet, and that is what we are going to do right now. I want us to add yet another sized box to give it a space here at the bottom. As you can see now, we have that nice space here at the bottom. So once I click on this register as a user, of course, we should get an error because we do not have that screen yet. And that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go to screens, and I'm going to create a new file, which I'm going to call user register. And this user register is going to be a consumer stateful widget, which I'm going to call user register like that. So let me import Flutter Riverpod. So this is the image for registering as a user. So of course, we are going to have this design, and then we are going to have this input name, the phone number, location, email, and password. So let us do that. So let me try to click on the register here so that we can see what we are doing. Okay, let me open here. So, okay. So let me go to routes, and I'm going to add the user register. So I'm going to copy this route here. I'm gonna paste it. So it's user register. Change that to user register, and this to user register, and this I'm gonna change this to user register, like that. So if I save that, and if I click on here again, okay, let me restart the app since we have made these changes. Let me restart it once again. So let me try to click on user register as a user. As you can see, we are directed to the user register here. I've adjusted the texture here so that we can have that on top method here, which I'm going to create. And the child is a circle avatar. It's going to have an image, the placeholder image that we added here at the beginning. This is the placeholder image that we're going to use here. But that image is going to be updated with what the user is going to select. Okay, so just to solve this error, I'm going to go at the top here, and I'm going to create that method. So here, as you can see, we create this method take picture, and it is going to use an image picker. So what we are going to do is that we are going to go to pivspec.yaml file, and then we are going to add the image picker dependency. So here you can just add the image picker dependency and run pub-get, and that will add the image picker. Let me go back to user register. Now here I can hover on it, and I'm going to import the image picker. So I can import the image picker like that. And here we have set the source to gallery. Okay, so you can also set this to camera if you want. So image source dot camera if you want to use a camera. Okay, and what's going to happen here is that here, as you can remember, we have this file which is nullable. It can be null because at the beginning we are not going to have any image, and now we are going to update this, okay, by saying that if we open the camera and if we take an image, we now update our selected image to be now the picked image or file, and we have to convert it back to type of file by saying file picked image.path, like that. So I'm gonna add that. So one for email and one for password. Let me save that. And we're also gonna need now a common button, and this common button, let me import this, is going to now say register me. Okay, like that. As you can see, it appears at the bottom here. And we are also going to add another text. It says or. Okay, let me save that, because remember, you want to create this design here. And now we are gonna need a common container here. So common container, like that. So the text here is going to say sign into my account, and on top here I want us to now use GoRouter to take the user back to the sign-in screen. So context.go named, so approutes.signin.name, like that. And of course I'm gonna import the approutes like that. So as you can see at the bottom now here, we have that sign into my account button here. So, and if I try to click on it, as you can see, it directs me back to the sign-in screen. And before we work on the location, I want us to go to design one for doctor as well. So let me go again to this folder here, screens, and I'm gonna create yet another file, and this is going to be for doctor registration. So I'm going to call it doctor register, like that. So let me go to routes. And I need to register the doctor register screen. Again, I'm going to go to doctor register like this. I'm gonna go here and paste that, and here I want to return the doctor register like that. So if I save everything and if I restart the app, since we have edited this file, I want to click on register as doctor. So let me go back to doctor register. Okay, so again, for the body, we are going to have a padding. So again, the single child scroll view is going to have a container. So for here, so this is a drop down button form field. Okay, it is of course generic to the of type string here. And again, here we have the decoration. So it's going to say select specialization, and then we are going to the labels, we are going to give them that style. Okay, the value is going to be selected specialization. Items is going to be from a list of specializations. Okay, so and to do that, I'm going to create a nullable string that we are going to update here. So I'm going to scroll at the top here, and I'm going to have a string selected specialization, which is nullable, and that is what we are going to update here once the user has selected. Okay, nice. Something else that I need to do is to provide a list of specialization, and this list we are going to use it somewhere else in the application, and therefore it's better to place it somewhere, and then we can provide it with the Riverpod so that we can be able to access this list even in other places of the application. I'm going to go to utils, and I'm going to create a new file here, which I'm going to call specialization list. So here now I'm going to define the list of all the different specializations. So it's a list of type string, and I'm going to call it specialization. Okay, so it's a list of specialization. So it's a private list. So here I'm going to keep these things simple, as I said in the introduction video. But now I want to provide this list to other areas of the application, and I'm going to use the provider. So this is the simplest type of provider that you can have in Riverpod. So specialization provider. So this is a provider. I'm going to import Riverpod, and this is going to be to return a list of type string, because we want to return this list that I've created here called specialization. And here, of course, we are now gonna return the list itself, that is the specialization. Nice. So now I can go back to doctor register, and in the build method here, I can now get my list. So final list of specializations equals to ref.watch specialization provider, and I can now import that. Now here, if I hover on this, as you can see, it's a list of type string. Now if I scroll down here, as you can see, now our error has disappeared. So the items is from the list of specialization. Okay, so if I save on that, as you can see, now we have this. If I tap on here, as you can see, we have the different specialization. I can click on ears, for example, and it's going to update that automatically, because the value here is updated. Also, we have the set state here. Actually, this set state here is the one that is responsible for updating the UI here. So if I click on teeth, the teeth is updated, because it updates the selected specialization with the new value, the one that we select. Cool. We have a common button here for that says register me. If I save on that, as you can see, the button appears here at the bottom. And also now we need the common container to take the user back to the sign-in screen if they already have an account. So first of all is the text that says or, okay. This is the text, okay. We have that text appear at the bottom here. Maybe I can add some space here at the bottom. So after this text, I can add some space. So I can say common container is going to say sign in to my account like that, okay. So app routes sign in .name like that. If I save that, as you can see now here, it hot reloads and we have that at the bottom. So let's work on now fetching the user location. And let me go to user register. So to fetch a location, first of all, we need to get the places API, okay, that you are going to use. So you are going to go to Google Cloud, the Google Cloud Console, the Google Cloud Platform, okay. And in here, in the Google Cloud Platforms, what you need to do first is to navigate to here, and then you can go to API and Services. Here you need to select a project. So if you have a Firebase project, you are going to be able to select it here, okay. So I think what we need to do is that I think we can just connect this application to Firebase first, so that when we come to this place, we are going to select that project, because it is going to fetch projects from your Firebase here. So let me connect this up to Firebase. So you're just going to go to firebase.google.com and you can go to console. Of course, you need a Google account to be able to do this. And here you are going to click on create a new project and you are going to name your project here. And click on continue. Here you can go with the default account for Firebase and click on create a project. So with that, I'm going to click continue. And now this is the Dr. Finder app here. So with that, you can just go back to Android Studio. If I go to terminal here, so you type Flutter fire configure here. And with this, it's going to go to Firebase and it's going to fetch the project that you have. So here it's going to select, you can use the arrow key to select the project that you want. So I'm going to select the Dr. Finder app that I have just created and click enter. And right now I'm just creating for Android. Okay, and with that, our application has been connected successfully to Firebase. Okay, so as you can see here, we have the Firebase options has been imported successfully, but we need to add some few packages to eliminate this error. As you can see here, it requires Firebase core. So I'm just gonna open pubspec.yaml file, and what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna add all the packages that we are gonna need to work with Firebase, so that we don't need to add them again in future. So I've added Firebase Auth, okay, Firebase Storage, Firebase Core, and Cloud Firestore. So these are the Firebase packages that we are gonna use in this project, and I just want to add them all, and I'm gonna click on pub.get to get those dependencies. So if I go to Firebase options, as you can see now, it has been able to get that. Okay, so I'm going to go to main.dat file now, and I'm going to await Firebase.initialize app. So options, default Firebase options dot current platform, like that. And then we can say widgets Flutter binding dot ensure initialized. So with that, we have successfully connected our application to Firebase. If I refresh this page, as you can see now, we have one app here, okay? So if we had multiple apps, they would appear here at the bottom. I want us now to go to Google Cloud Console once again. You are going to need to select a project. So here at the top, you are going to see this, and you are going to go to all projects, okay? So this is loading the projects from Firestore. So I'm just going to select my project here, and that should be selected at the top here, okay? So here at the APIs and services, you can click on this enable APIs and services, and this will direct you to this page here, okay? And of course there you're going to need to select a billing system. If we go to Firebase let me first of all start with authentication, because you're gonna use authentication anyways. So I'm gonna click on get started here, and here I'm going to enable email and password, and then I'm gonna go to Firestore database, and here I'm gonna click on create database. Here of course you can select the one that is closest to you. I'm gonna just go with that in the United States, and I'm gonna click on next here. And for the rules, for this I'm just going to go with start with the test mode, and I'm gonna click on create. And with that I'm gonna go to rules, and here for now I'm just gonna set this to true, and I'm gonna publish that. So the next thing is the cloud Firestore or of Firebase storage. Sorry. So for Firebase storage, to use storage is now gonna require you to upgrade, and to upgrade this you are going to require some Google payment account. So if you don't have one, you are just going to create a billing account that is gonna ask for your credit card details. But for me, I'm just going to click on Firebase payment, because I had already created an account earlier. So, and I'm just gonna click continue here, and I'm going to link this to my billing account. My account has reached the maximum linked project quota. So what I'm gonna do is that since I already have the other project, I'm gonna reconnect my app to the other project. All right, so let me just reconnect my app to the already existing project, and sorry for that. I thought it's gonna allow me to connect yet another app, but let me just connect to the one that I have already. So I'm just gonna delete this. And now my app has been connected once again. I have another firebase.json file here. I also have Firebase options here, and I also have Google services.json file added here. Now I can go back to the cloud console. This project has already been, I've deleted this project, so I'm going to change back to the project that I have in Firebase. So these are the ones that you are going to need to enable. Okay, for Places API, if you go to keys here, so if you don't have a key, you are gonna be required to create a new key. Okay, and it's gonna give you a key. So here I have this key here. Okay, I created it a long time ago here, but here in the restrictions, if I go to API key here, so here there is application restrictions and there are API restrictions. Okay, so these keys I have restricted all the other APIs here, but of course you can restrict it if you want. Okay, so I'm gonna need to go to utils, and I'm going to create a new file which I'm gonna call keys, to create a class here. So static const app key, and so now this key, you are going to paste the key that you are gonna get once you have done whatever that you need to do. So for me is this key. I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to save it there. So again, you copy that key, and you are going to paste it here. So you paste it inside here. So now I want us to go to the user register, and I want us now to get the location. And to do that, let me go to register as user here. And to be able to get this widget here, we are going to use a package called Google Places Flutter. So I'm gonna go to pubspec.yaml file, and I'm gonna add the Google Places Flutter package, and I'm gonna click on pub-get. So if I go back to user register, so after the phone number, from the documentation, there's a piece of code there. I'm just gonna copy and paste it here. If you just want to type it, you can just pause and type it if you want. So the Google Place autocomplete text field, this we get from the package that you have just installed, the Google Places Flutter, like that. And here the API key is the app keys, the class app keys dot the API key. Ensure that you have your API key there. But here, of course, I'm also going to import this. Okay, the prediction, since we are going to save the latitude and longitude of the user, so that we can use that to calculate the distance between this user and the doctors in the application. I want us to go under at the top here, and we are going to create these variables here. So I'm gonna go at the top here and I'm gonna create the variable longitude and latitude. We create double latitude and double longitude, and we are going to update these values here at the bottom, and then we are gonna be able to save that value to Firebase so that we can know the longitude of the user and the latitude of the user after they have searched a place here. Okay, so one thing that I need to do, we are going to need to add one more package, and therefore we are just going to go to the pubspec.yaml file, and we are gonna install a package called Google Maps Web Service. So this is the package that I want us to install. The Google Maps Web Service is going to help us be able to get the latitude and longitude. So I'm going to place pub-get, and with that we have added the Google Maps Web Service here. Okay, so if I go back to the user register, now I want to import that package. So import, we can use as, and I'm going to name it Google Maps Web Service GMWS, like that. I'm going now to create the places variable here. As you can see here, we have an error. So I'm gonna create now that variable here. So final places, so is equals to, so we are going to use our package, so gmws dot Google Maps places, and then here we are going to pass the API key, and we already have that, so it's the app keys dot app key. Let me just go and rename this to API key. Okay, I'm gonna rename it. So once I've renamed it, so I can just say API key here, like that. And with that, now I can come here. So going to be appkeys.api key, like that. And so with that, as you can see, when I save it, we now have we can now enter a location here. And by the way, if you try to run the application, since we are using Firebase, you might get this error. Okay, so what you need to do is that you need to go to the app level bit.gradle file. So you can just go to here to Android app, go to build.gradle.kts, and then here minimum SDK, you can just type 23 here. And with that, if you try to run the application again, it will not give you that error. So let us go to doctor registration, the doctor register, and we're just going to do the same thing that I have just done here. I'm going to import the Google Maps Web Service package. Okay, just above the email, I want to paste the widget. This is the widget, the Google Place autocomplete text field widget. I want to paste it there. And of course, I'm going to import the Google Places Flutter package. I'm also going to import this class that has our API key, like that. And I'm also going to import this once again. So so if I save that, as you can see now, this part to enter location, it's enabled. Now I want us to work on how we can now register a user as either a doctor or just a normal user. Okay, and for that I want us to, first of all, let me just close these files for now. Let me just close all these files. We are gonna open them when we need them again. Inside the features, inside the authentication, I want us to go to domain, and here we are going to create a new class, new file, and the name of this file is gonna be app user. So here we are going to define our app user, and the user has different properties, which I'm gonna type real quick. And now here, after that, I'm just going to right click here, and I'm going to go to generate, and I'm gonna click on that data class section. I'm gonna select on all of these, Control A, and click on OK. And now I'm going to remove this. That is possible because if I go to settings and if I go to plugins, there is this class called that data class. That is this what has made me possible to generate all this code without writing them by hand. Also, so this, as you can see, this is for registering a normal user. We also have doctors, and doctors are also users because they also have their name, their email, their phone number, the image URL, the location, and all this information. But they also have the additional information like the specializations, years of experience, etc. So I want us to create another class. So this one is going to be a doctor, and it's going to be a class doctor, which is going to extends app user like that. And then now I'm gonna create a constructor that is now going to factor in all the other properties. And with that, first of all, we have the constructor, okay, with the information from our app user, okay, and now we have the properties that are exclusive to the type doctor, okay. So let me add that to map. So I'm gonna add this. It was not generated, and with that we get to solve. We can now close this, and now in the data we are going to create the Auth repository, and I did the same in the Bed Donation app as well. So this one is going to send in the user with email and password, passing in the email and also the password, okay. And now I'm gonna create another method here for registering a user. And with this, so this one is for creating a app user with email and password, okay. So it's gonna require an email, a password, a name, a phone number, the file, the location, longitude, and also the type of the user. So the first thing that we do is to create a user with email and password, passing the email and the password. From there, we work on uploading the profile image and get the download URL, okay? And we are uploading the image to the Firebase storage, okay? And so we are gonna save the profile image inside the folder profile images under the user ID, okay? And with that, we upload the profile image using this put file method, and we get the profile image URL, okay, which is snapshot.ref.getDownloadURL. So we get that download URL, which we are gonna in turn save it to Firebase Firestore. So let me import this. We create a Firestore instance, and with that, and now we save our app user, which now has all the information that the user has provided to Firestore, okay. So we go to collection our users under the user ID. So under the user ID, we save this information using the app user.tomap method, okay. So with that, we are able to save the user. So you can pause the video and write this code if you want to, or again you can click on the link below to get all the source code. Fantastic. So again, I want now to create a method to register a doctor. So this was for a user, and now I want to create one for registering a doctor. So again, this for registering a doctor is just the same as what we did for user, but I wanted that just to separate these methods to know what we are doing, okay. So again, we create the user with email and password. We get that credential, and then after creating the user, we upload their profile image to Firebase storage, okay, and then we get the download URL from snapshot.ref.getDownloadURL, and then we finally save that information to Firebase Firestore under their own user ID. Now I want us to create a method to get the current user, a method to get the Auth state changes, and also a method to send the users out. And so this user, as you can see, is a nullable user because the user can be null. So this one returns the auth.currentUser. Also, this is for Auth state changes. So it returns auth.auth state changes. Again, this is for sign out. So await auth.signout to sign out the user. So finally, what I want us to do is to create a provider to be able to access these methods and also this class from other parts of the application. So like that. So I want to run the build. So what I want to do is that I'm gonna come here on top and say part out the repository.g.dat like that. And now with that, I can come here. So this is one for the set changes, and this is one for returning the current user. So I'm gonna come to here at the command prompt at the console here, and I'm gonna run this the build runner once again. And with that, we have been able to get this Auth repository.g.dat files with all the providers that we need. Cool. So the another thing that now we need to create is the controller to be able to help us to update the state of our screen, so that we can have maybe loading indicators and things like that. So I'm gonna come here to presentation, because this is dealing with the UI, and I'm gonna create a folder here called controller, and here I'm going to call it Auth controller. So here, this one is for signing in the user with the email and password. First of all, we are going to check if the email is empty or if the password is empty. So if one of them is empty, we are going to give them an error message. So if not, we are gonna change the state to loading, and then we are gonna try to sign in the user with email and password. And when that happens, it's going to change the state to async loading or async data. Okay, so in case of an error, it's going to give us an error. Okay, so I want us now to create one for registering the doctor and also registering the app user. So this one is for creating an app user. Okay, so again, we perform some validations here. If the email is empty, or the password, or the name, or the type, of the phone number, or the location has not been selected, okay, or the longitude and latitude have not been selected, or the profile image has not been selected, we are going to give this error to tell them that ensure that the details are selected. Else, we try to create the app user with email and password, passing all the information required. Okay. So lastly, I'm going to do the same for the doctor, and here is one for doctor as well. So again, we are going to require all that information, and then we are going to perform some validations. If they do not pass, we give them that error. So if they pass, then we attempt to create that user, or that doctor rather, with email and password, passing the email and password and all the other required information. Okay, and again, this Auth controller is going to be very useful to help us in updating the state of application. For example, adding a loading indicator here to just let the user that something is happening behind the scenes. Okay, so now, since we are going to need to create a provider for this class as well, so here we can change this. Instead of extending async notify of type void, what we can do though is that we can add _ $Auth controller like that. Okay, and we are going to add at Riverpod annotation here, at Riverpod annotation. Okay, and I'm gonna import Riverpod annotation, and lastly we are gonna add part Auth controller.g.dat, so that when we run the build runner, it's going to create the file for us. So I'm gonna run the build runner once again, and by that the Auth controller here has been created with the provider that we are gonna use. So now let us go and try now to log in the user. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the sign in screen, and in here at the top, so if I can go back to the Auth controller once more, as you can see here, we said that in case of errors, we need to show them to the user. In case here the async value ends up returning an async error, we want also to display that error to the user, telling them that something went wrong somewhere. And for that, I want us to create a small method that is gonna help us handle that. Okay, and therefore inside the common widgets here, I'm going to create a widget that I'm gonna call async value. So it's an extension method, async value UI on async value. Okay, So this is going to help us handle the situation where we get an error, and that error is going to be displayed using an alert dialog. As you can see here, we have an alert dialog and icon of error. The icon is icons.error here, and the text is going to be the message, and the message is what we are going to get. So if we get like Firebase out the exceptions, we are going to display that message to the user, okay? Or if we get any kind of error, it's going to be displayed using this alert dialog. So this is the extension method async value UI on async value. So here in the sign-in screen, in the build method, first of all, what I want to do is to get the state. So state equals to ref.watch, and we can be able to do this because this is a consumer stateful widget. So what we want to do is to look at the Auth controller provider, okay? And in case we try to log in and we get an error, I want to show that error to the user. So ref.listen, listen is a generic type. So here I'm gonna pass async value. Here is the provider that we want. So it's the Auth controller. And here we get the previous state and the current state. So we are not gonna use the previous state, but we are gonna need to use the current state. Say state.show alert dialog on error, passing the context. Okay, so let us go to the button here at the bottom. First of all, we are gonna need to get the email and the password. Also, we are gonna need to get the password like that. And also ref.read the Auth controller provider.notifier.sign in with email and password, passing in the email and also the password. The auto completion here was right, but here now we need to update the is loading. So instead of false, we can now get this value dynamically, and we can say state.isLoading. So here we are in the login screen. If I try to click on sign in without entering anything, as you can see here, we are told that ensure that all the details are filled. Okay, let me just go to the async value UI once again, and here the color that I want to use, red color, colors.red. I want to use appstyles.mainColor. Also the button, I want it to be appstyles.mainColor. So if I try to sign in again, yeah, that looks better. Let me go to now register as a user. I want us to go to the button, the register me button. And first of all, we are gonna get the email, the password, the name, and the phone number, okay, from the respective controllers there. We are gonna use ref.read, and here we are gonna pass the Auth controller provider.notifier.create app user with email and password. The profile image is going to be the elected image. The location is going to be location controller.text. The latitude is going to be latitude, and since it is nullable, we place this exclamation mark here. For longitude is longitude, like that. And the type, since you are registering as a user, I'm just going to type user there, like that. So again here, we are going to need to update the state. And for that, I'm gonna go to here at the top once again and say final state is equals to ref.watch Auth controller provider. Let me use a small letter here because it's just a variable. And ref.listen, this is async value, This is Auth controller provider. It's gonna give us the previous state and the new state. And here in here we can say state.show alert dialog on error, passing in the context. So that is going to be helpful in case we get an error. We want to show the user the error using an alert dialog. So here the state, I want the isLoading to be state.isLoading. So that is a boolean, and that is exactly what we want. So I'm just gonna go to Doctor register. Actually, I'm gonna open the user register here, and I'm gonna copy these two here, okay? And since we are gonna use them like that, and then here at the in the button, first of all we get the email, the password, name, phone number, description, and the years of experience, okay? And so with this is create doctor with email and password. We paste the email, the password, name, phone number, the profile image, which is the selected image, the location, the longitudes and latitude, the type doctor, Also, we pass the specialization, description, and also the years of experience. So here instead of false, we are going to say state dot is loading, like that. Fantastic. And with that, I think we should be ready to go. We should be good to go. So I want to go and try to register as a user. If it works as a user, you'll be sure that it also works here as a doctor as well. But be sure to test it multiple times to ensure that it works on your side and also on your devices. Come here to register as a user. I'm gonna click on the profile here. And so this will open the camera, because remember at the top here, the source, I set it to camera. And this is the emulator, the camera for the emulator. So I take that image, and as you can see, that image now appears here. Also, I'm going now to enter my location. Select my location here, Boram Hill, Brooklyn, New York. And now I'm going to click on Register Me. And as you can see now, this is loading here, and now we have a loading indicator indicating that there is a background process going on. So the loading is complete. So let me go to Firebase. Let me go to authentication. As you can see here, I have this email that has been registered successfully here. Okay, so if I open Firestore and Storage, so again, remember I connected the app that I was using before, and therefore that's why you are seeing this other data here, but you'll get into it, don't worry about it. So if I come here, this is the one that I have just created right now, okay, with the email and all this information. So if I go to storage, you will find that inside the profile images, you will find that my new image has been created. As you can see, it's May 3rd, 2025, which is the date of today. All right, so one thing that I want us to do is that once the sign-in is successful or is complete without any errors, we don't want to remain here. I want us to be directed to the home screen. And to do that, we are gonna go to router, the routes, sorry, and we are gonna do some things here. Okay, and we can let me import Firebase out. So with that, and inside here, we can say final Firebase Auth is equals to ref.watch Firebase Auth provider. And here we are going to implement something called the redirect logic, and the redirect logic is going to listen to the auth state, and then it's going to direct the user accordingly. So if they are logged in, they are going to be directed to the home screen. If they are not, they are going to be directed to the sign-in screen. So here I've added that. So if user is logged in and they are in the sign-in page or in the doctor register page or in the user register page, they should be directed to the main screen. Okay. Else, if they are not logged in and they're in a page that starts with /main or they are in the /account, they should be directed to the sign-in screen. Okay. So this part will make more sense once we go further in the app. But for this to work, we are going to need to do something called to add yet another property of the GoRouter called refresh listenable. And here we are going to create a class that is going to be listening to the state of the user, and then it's gonna work together with this redirect logic that we have added here to direct the user to the screen that they should be in. Okay. And for that, I'm going to create a new file here, which I'm gonna call GoRouter refresh stream. So this is the GoRouter refresh stream, and it extends change notifier, and this is a class from the foundation.dat file. Okay, so I'm gonna save that. So you can just pause the video and write it out. Okay, so I can come here, and this here I'm gonna say GoRouter refresh stream, and here I'm gonna pass Firebase auth state changes. So I want us to go to the splash screen. There are changes that we need to do there. So let us go to splash screen. So if the user is logged in, we direct them to the main screen. Else, and if they have seen onboarding already, we direct them to the sign-in screen directly. And then else, we are going to take them to the onboarding screen like that. I think that sums up the authentication and the registration of the user. So I think now we should start working on the main screen. If you run the application right now, by the way, it is going to give you an error because we don't have the main screen yet. And that is the task that you are going to be doing now. So let us start working on the home screen or the main screen of the app. So let us go to routes, and here I want us to create another route, which I'm gonna call main. So its path is main and main.name, and it's going to return main screen. So I want us to now create this main screen. So inside these features, I'm going to create another file, another folder, which I'm gonna call user management for lack of a better name. And it's going to be a stateful widget called main screen. So this screen is going to have several tabs. So here I'm going to extend with single ticker provider state mixin. I'm going to have a late tab controller. So we are going to need to override init state and initialize our tab controller, okay, with a length of 4. So we are going to have 4 tabs at the bottom, and add the property vsync and pass this. Also, of course, since it's a tab controller, we are going to need to dispose it. So override on dispose and dispose the tab controller. So this is the main screen. The main screen is going to eventually look like this. And if like we click here, view all doctors, it should direct us to these doctors here. But also if we just tap on these doctors without like clicking on here, it is also going to take us to the doctors. Here in the build, we are of course going to return a scaffold, but of course we need the current index. We need to update the tab controller with the current index. Here in the presentation, I'm going to create a folder, providers, and inside here I'm going to create a new file. And the file, I'm gonna call it current tab provider, And this current tab provider is going to be a simple state notifier class. So current tab notifier extends state notifier, and the state notifier, you have to provide the type. For this, just an integer, and you have to give the initial value, and you use this with the initializer list. So void set tab. So here we are going to pass int new value, and now we update the state to the new value like that. So after that, we need to create a state notifier provider, okay? And I'm going to call this state notifier provider, I'm going to call it current tab notifier provider. And here you need to pass, first of all, the class at the top, so the current tab notifier, and also you pass the type, okay? And then you return, we're going to return the current tab notifier like that. Okay, now with that, you can come here in the build method and say final current index is going to be ref.watch the current tab notifier provider like that. We are going to change this from a stateful widget to a consumer stateful widget. And therefore we need to change this from state to consumer state. Like that, and now we need to import Riverpod to solve the errors like that. So now we need to update our tab controller .index. Say it's equals to now the current index like that. Now inside the scaffold, so in the body, we now want to create a tab bar view. The children is going to be a const list of children. But this tab bar view, it needs a controller, and the controller is our tab controller. So here we are going to need a home screen, a doctor screen, a bookings, and also a chat screen. We're going to create now a bottom navigation bar. And I've created the bottom navigation bar. So ref.read current tab notifier set tab to the new value, so that this is going to update the current tab so that you can show the different screens, so each of these screens, okay? Since here at the top we see that the length of this tab controller has to be 4, and we have 4 items here, So it's only fitting that we have 4 bottom navigation bar items here. So the first one is for home, also for doctors, bookings, and also for charts. So as you can see, the home, the doctors, the bookings, and the chart. Okay, so that is what is happening here. So let me just start with creating a home screen. And the home screen is going to be a consumer widget. And I want to import material.dart file. And of course, I'm going to import Flutter Riverpod. So for now, I'm going to just return a scaffold. And I'm going to set an app bar here. I'm going to do the same for doctor screen. So here I can just close this and I'm going to import it here. So let me also create a doctor screen. So let me go back to home screen and I'm going to import the doctor screen. So I want us now to create this booking screen. So for that, I'm going to go to features and I'm going to create a new package, which I'm going to call bookings. And inside bookings, now I'm going to create the folders like I did earlier. So inside the screens, we are going to now to create the booking screen. And it's going to be a consumer stateful widget. So let me import Riverpod. And I'm also going to import material.dart file. So let me go back to main screen and I'm going to import this, to import the booking screen like that. And finally, I'm going to create yet another folder in the features, which I'm going to call chart. And inside the chart, I'm going to create yet another folders. Chart screen. So if I go to main screen once again, I can import the chart screen. And now we no longer have the errors. Let me run the application once again. So if I go to routes, here I need to import main screen like that. Let me run the app again. Since we are already logged in, we have not been taken to the sign-in screen or the onboarding screen. We have been directed directly to the main screen. And as you can see here, if I click on doctors, it updates automatically. We get taken to doctors. If I click on bookings, you go to bookings. And if I click on chat, we are going to go to charts. Fantastic. Okay, now we are done with the main screen. I'm just gonna close that. Let us now start working on the home screen. So inside the app bar, we can now create actions. So here in the actions are the icons that appear here in this side. So I want us to show a container and use that container to load the profile image of the logged in user. Okay. So since we are loading that data automatically from Firebase, I want us to create methods on load that information. And therefore, inside the user management and inside of data, I'm going to create a file called users repository. So class users repository. So final Firebase Firestore. So here I'm gonna create the constructor, and here now we are gonna create a method to load user information. And this is the method to load the user information by passing the user ID. And now we are going to go to the firestore.collection users.the user ID. So remember, the information was saved under each user ID. Okay. And then we are going to get that information. We are also going to check if the user is a doctor. We return doctor.fromMap. Okay, else we return AppUser.fromMap. We can now go back to home. And now here, I want us now to load that information. And we can do that with a future builder or a string builder. But what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to create a widget that is going to handle most of that for us, and also because we are gonna need to reuse that functionality in many places. So I'm gonna go to common widgets, and I'm going to create a widget, a file that I'm gonna call async value widget. Okay, and I'm gonna implement it here. So this is a async value widget of type T, which is a stateless widget. Okay, and it will get a value and a function that returns a widget which we call data. Okay, so let me go back to the home screen, and now here in the child we are gonna use now the async value widget. So this async value widget, remember it's of type T. So here I'm gonna pass app user and I'm gonna import the app user. So the value and the data, now we need that. So I'm gonna go to the build method here. And to load user information, as you can see here, we need to pass user ID. So we first of all need to get the user ID. So final user ID is equals to ref.watch current user provider.uid, like that. And then we can now get user data. So final user data async value equals to ref.watch. So load user information provider passing the user ID. But remember, we did not create the provider for that. So I'm gonna come here at the bottom, and first of all I'm gonna create the provider for user repository and also for this method here. And here we are. So this is the one for loading the user information and also for returning the user's repository. So let me run the build. So here, before I run the build runner, I'm gonna need to add part users repository.g.dat. So let me now run the build runner. Here now the value here is going to be user data async value, and the data we are gonna get user data. Inside here now we can return the widget that we want. For this case, we are going to return a circle avatar, and which has a background image, a network image, and the network image is going to be user data dot image URL, like that. Okay, so if I save that and if the app starts once again and again, as you can see, eventually it's going to show the profile image of the current logged in user, like that. Fantastic. So now what I need to do now is now how to design this. First of all, your upcoming booking, we are going to show this as well. Also, we are going to show this list of doctor specialties and the nearby doctors. So to do that, so let me now get out of the app bar, but inside the scaffold, we are going to now have the body. So everything is going to be centered. So I'm going to have a center widget with the child. So the child is going to be a single child scroll view, and the child of the single child scroll view is going to be a column. And the column, of course, it has children. So the first child of this column is just going to be a text that says your upcoming booking with the font style of italic. And then we are going to load some bookings. The booking that is soonest is going to be displayed with this container here. Okay, but for now, what we are gonna do, we are just gonna return a container that says no upcoming booking for now. Add a container here. Because we've not even gotten to the point where we can add our bookings, for now we are just gonna add something like that. Okay, just for now. After that container, I want to add some space of 15 pixels, and then now I want us to work on this doctor specialty widget here. Okay, here in the user management, I'm going to go to widgets, and I'm going to create a new file which I'm gonna call a doctor specialty widget, like that. And here now, this is going to be a consumer widget, which I'm gonna call doctor specialty widget, and I'm gonna import material.dat, like that. So inside here, first of all, as you can see, it's going to load the different kind of specialties. Okay, and as you can remember from the beginning, we created this specialization list. So this provider that gives us a list of all specializations. So here in the build method, first of all, I want us to get that list. I can maybe add specialization list so that we can be able to know it's an actual list. pass that there. Here in the authentication, we're going to need to make a change. So we have a new error here. Is going to be a specialization list provider. Okay. So going back to our specialty widget here, so we have that list. So here we are going to return, we are going to need a padding edge insets dot symmetric, add a horizontal padding of 10 pixels, and the child is going to be a column. Column has children. So as you can see here, it's going to be a row with that and also this. So let us first of all work on the row. So the row is going to have a text that says Doctor Specialty, and then it's going to have an elevated button that says See All at the end. Okay. So here, let me go here in the main screen, in the home screen, and I want to import this widget so that we can see what we are doing. Now if I save that, so you can see now we have that. Let us work on displaying these ones. Outside that row, we are gonna have a sized box which has a height of size config dot get proportionate height. I'm gonna give it a height of 120, and I'm gonna give it a child. A child is going to be a list view builder. The item builder takes a context and an index, and which also has item count. So item count is going to be list of specializations dot length. Nice. All right. Now here in the item builder, first of all, I want us to change the scroll direction to axis dot horizontal because we want them to appear horizontally. Now inside the item builder, first of all, we can get the specialization. So specialization equals to the list of specializations at the current index, like that. And now we can create a map. So as you can see now, I have created this map, the specialization icons, so that each and every one of those specialization has a different kind of icon. Okay, so for eyes is that, for ears that, for nose that, for teeth that, and for limbs that. And now we can have the icon, final icon is going to be a specialization icon. We now pass the specialization. And now, since we are inside the item builder, we are going to return a column with now this container with the icon here and also the text eyes. Okay, so let me do that. As you can see now, I decided to give it a padding, and a padding is important because we need this space around that. Padding of 10. So the container has a height of 60 and a width of 60. The shape is circle. We have a color of main color, okay, and our opacity of 0.2. Now the icon, and we give a color of main color, okay. And now we are gonna need a text, the specialization itself, okay, and give it a color of black like that. Now if I save that and if I hot reload, so if I hot reload, as you can see, we get that, and we can scroll like this because now this is a list view builder. It gives us scrolling capabilities. So that is the doctor specialty. Let me go back to the home screen once again. First of all, I'm going to add a size box here to give some space. We need to work on this, displaying these nearby doctors here. Okay, so we need to work on this. We are going to create a widget which I'm gonna call nearby doctors widget. So I'm gonna come here to widgets. I'm going to create a new .dat file, and I'm going to call it nearby doctors widget, like that. So here in the home screen, let me just import that, and I'm also going to add some spacing at the bottom. First of all, we need to display this, okay, and this nearby doctors text, and also this button here. So the first child is of course going to be a row, like the one that I did at the top there. So it's going to be nearby doctors And remember when I said that we can tap on this button to take the tab from 0 to 1. So to navigate to doctors here. And that is exactly what we do here. So ref.read current tab notifier provider.notifier.set tab, and then you pass 1. And we can pass 1 because this is 0, 1, 2, 3. As you know, lists start from 0, not from 1. When I save that, as you can see, that appears. And now we need now to work on this part here. Okay. So, and for that, so first of all, remember, if I go to Firebase, remember I was forced to use the Firebase project that was already existing. And in this project, I had already created many doctors. So I'd advise you to register many doctors and give them their locations and things like that. So that you can have a list of doctors here before you continue, because now I'm going to display the doctors that I already have in the app. So after this row here, but inside the column, I'm going to have to add a sized box, and I'm going to give it a height of size config, get proportionate height, 220 for this one. And I'm going to add a child. Here we are going to use the async value widget for displaying the doctors. Okay. So we are going to go to users repository, and you can see here this one was for loading user information. But I want us to now create one for loading the doctors in the app. Okay. So and I'm going to do just that for right now. So this is a method called load doctors, and when we're loading these doctors, we are going to pass specialization. Okay, we are going to pass specialization because this method we are going to use it more inside the doctors page. So when we go to these doctors, we are going to use this more, and you are gonna see why I passed the specialization here. And now, of course, we are going to go to the users and query by the type. So we want the type to be equal to doctor. Okay, so we want to filter the users that have the type doctor here. Okay, so that is what is happening here. So we want them first of all to be doctors, and also specialization to be equal to the specialization that we are going to pass. Okay, and then we return that. Again, it's a list of doctors, so that we have to convert all of this back to a list. Okay, so that is what is happening in this method. Again, you can pause if you want to get that, and also if you want all the source code, be sure to click the link in the description box below. I can go back to nearby doctors, and inside here now, we should now load the doctors in the app. In case we get an error loading the doctors, I want to get that error. So async value doctors provider, and let me go back to the users repository once again. And actually, I forgot, we need to create a method that is eventually going to be used to create the provider for this method. Okay, and here it is. So load doctors. So we are going to pass specialization. So it is going to be a family, and therefore we are going to return user repository.load doctors passing the specialization. Okay, and I can run the build runner again. And so with that, we have created the provider that we are going to need to load the doctors like that. And now I need to import this. Okay, and also import this here like that. So now I need to now load the list of doctors. So list, and we pass an empty string that right there. So we can come down here. So this sized box is going to have a child, and the child is going to be a async value widget, and this is going to be type list of doctor like that. So the value here is going to be list of doctors async value, and the data is going to be the doctors. Okay, and now here we can now return the widget that we want. So first of all, we are going to check if doctors dot is empty. So if it's empty, I want us to show a center widget that has a child of text. that says no doctors. So else you are going to show a list view builder, and it has an item count. So item count is the doctors dot length, and the item builder, of course, it has the context. It takes the context and the index. So we can get a doctor by saying doctor is equals to doctors and the current index. And this list view builder, remember, we wanted to have a scroll direction of horizontal. So we can say scroll direction. So inside the list view builder, you can say scroll direction to be axis dot horizontal, because by default is scroll direction is vertical, and therefore here we are going to return a doctor item widget, and we are going to pass the doctor. Okay, so we are going to pass this doctor inside the doctor item widget. And now I want us to go to the widgets once again, and I want us to create yet another file, which I'm gonna call doctor item widget. So this is going to be a consumer widget. Now let me import it first. Final doctor, and since it is a required named parameter, you can come here and say required this dot doctor, like that. Nice. All right, so as you can remember here, we need to load these doctors, but we also need to load the distance between us and the doctors. Okay, so to do that, first of all, here we are going to need to get the user ID, the current user ID, and also load the information. So now we are going to need to return a container, okay, that has a column, and the first element of that column is going to be this image, then the text, their specialization, their ratings, and also the distance here at the bottom. And as you can see, I have done exactly that. So it's a container. So that this container has a box shadow here, but the child is a column. So the first element of this column is this image, okay? And so the text is the doctor.name, okay? Of course, the image is the doctor.image URL. The text is the image.name, as you can see here. So this is how it should be. And also the specialization is the teeth, for example, or eyes or ears, okay? So of course, we now have a row of rating stars widget that I'm going to create, okay? And also the distance. So the distance here, as you can see, first of all, it's a row and has an icon here, which is called social distance, okay? And now we are going to calculate the distance between the where we are and that particular doctor. And to do that, I created this calculated distance. And for that, first of all, what we are going to need is that we are going to go to the pubspec.yaml file, and we are going to add a package, the Geolocator package, okay? So here, you are going to add the Geolocator package. So this is going to help us calculate the distance between our location and the doctor's location, because remember, we saved the latitude and longitudes of both the app user and also the doctor. So I'm going to run pubget to get the latest dependencies. Now we have that. So inside the widgets here, I'm going to create another file, which I'm going to call calculate distance. So new dot file, calculate distance. And inside the calculate distance, here now I'm going to create a method to calculate the distance between 2 points using latitude and longitude. So, and here is the method, calculate distance. It's going to take my latitude and my longitude, and the doctor's latitude and the doctor's longitude. And then we are going to calculate the distance using the Geolocator package. So Geolocator, and import that, dot distance between, so my latitude and my longitude, and the doctor's latitude and the doctor's longitude. And then that distance is usually returned in meters, and therefore I divide that distance by 1,000 to get it in kilometers. So if I go back to doctor item widget, I can now hover over here, and I'm going to import that. So it's going to take the user data.latitude and then my longitude. Also this doctor's latitude and also the current doctor's longitude, like that. So finally, let us create this rating stars. So I can come here and create a new widget, which I'm gonna call rating stars. So now this is the rating stars widget. So I'm going to save that. So if I go back and go to doctor item, and I'm going to import this, now we no longer have that error. Let me hot restart instead. Now, as you can see, it has loaded the information and the distance. Okay. Now I want us to go to the doctors page and start working on the doctors. And also, again, if I click here, view all, it is taking us to the doctor. So we need to work on the doctors. So I'm gonna go close all this, and I'm going to go to the doctor screen here. The doctor screen, as you can remember, it looks like this. So first of all, we have the search bar here and the button here, and then we display the different specializations, and then you should be able to tap on one of these and then change the list that is appearing over here. Okay, so in the body of this scaffold, we are going to have a column. The column has children. So the first child is going to be a sized box, and I'm going to pass 10 there. The search bar widget, we're going to create it inside of this widget. So I'm going to come here to widgets, and I'm going to call this search bar widget. So this is going to be our search bar widget. So it has a padding of 10 in all directions. It has a decoration, an input decoration, or a hint text that says search a doctor, a hint style of that. Okay, it also has a outline border with a gap padding of 10, a border radius, and a border side. If I go back to doctor screen and I import it, and actually it is not going to be inside of the column, because if you look here, this and this are side by side. So I need to create a row here. So the first child is going to be the search bar widget. Okay, and the second one is going to be that elevated button, show all. So I'm also going to wrap this inside of a widget, so the expanded widget. And since, as you can see here, since I want the button to the search bar to take more space than this, we can use the flex property here. So I'm going to add a flex. I'm going to give this a flex of 3. Flex of 1. It's already has a flex of 1 here, sorry. And with that, as you can see, we have that over there. Fantastic. After that row, we are going to have some space, and then we are going to display now this widget that display the different specializations. As you can see, it's almost similar to the one that is in home screen, but this one is different because now these are rectangular and there is no names at the bottom. And therefore, I'm going to go to the widgets and I'm going to create a new file, and the file is going to be doctor specialization widget. And this is going to be a consumer widget called doctor specializations widget, and I'm going to import Flutter Riverpod, and I'm also going to import material.dat file. So first of all, we are going to get the list of the specializations, okay, by loading the specialization list provider, and then now we are going to return a sized box. So the height of this sized box is going to be size config.get proportionate height, a height of 60, and a child is going to be a list view builder. So if I save that, if I come here to doctor screen, I can now add the doctor specializations widget like that. And if I save that, so you can see now we have that. Okay, again, we can have some height here to create some spacing. And now finally, I want us to display the doctors, okay? So, and the doctors, I want them to be inside of the list view here, the list view builder here, and it should take the remaining space. And therefore, we can use an expanded widget here, and the child is going to be an async value widget, and this async value widget is going to be of type list of doctors, like that. So the value is going to be the doctor's async value. And to do that, you can come here at the top and you can say final doctor's async value equals to ref.watch, provided that you want is the doctor's load doctors provider, we can start by passing an empty string like that. And of course, in case of an error, we should be able to show that error to the user. The value here is now the doctors async value. And the data here is going to be a list of doctors. So doctors. So if doctors.is empty, we are going to return a center widget with a text that says no doctors available. And else we are going to show a list view builder with an item count, with an item builder, which has a context and an index. And it also has an item count of doctors.length. So here we are going to return, so the doctor equals to the doctors at the current index, like that. And then we are going to return doctor list tile widget that is going to eventually take a doctor. So this is going to be a required named parameter. So we can go to widgets again, and I'm going to name this doctor list tile widget. And this is going to be a stateless widget. And remember, it's taking a doctor, so we are going to pass doctor here. And I'm going to import the doctor. And here, it's required this .doctor, like that. So here, this is going to return a list tile. The leading is the circle avatar that is going to show the doctor.image URL, so this image here. And then the title is the doctor.name, so Sarakim, for example. And it has, of course, that style. The specialization, it's a column, and the first element of that column is the specialization and also the location, so it fetches the location as well. And finally, the trailing, we are just going to use an icon that shows direction, so it's like go and speak to him or just check them out, or like see more of the information and possibly make a booking. Okay, so for now, we are just going to leave it at that for now, but we are going to come back for sure. And here I can import this. I'm going to import this doctor list tile widget. Doctor list tile widget has been misspelled, but it's whatever. So I can import this now, like that. So if I click on save, as you can see now, it has loaded the doctors, okay? It has loaded the doctors that I have, and it should load the doctors that you have in your account as well. So once we tap on this inkwell, we want to update the list here to show just the doctors of that particular specialization. So the easiest way to do that, we are going to create a provider, and that provider, I'm going to call it specialization provider. So this is a specialization provider. First of all, it returns, the default value is just an empty string like that. But we can set specialization by passing a string new specialization and updating the state to that new specialization. And of course, we have the specialization notifier provider here that allows us to get to access this class here and this method here. So I'm just going to save that. So I can go now to the doctor specializations widget. So this widget here is that I'm gonna use ref.read with the specialization notifier provider .notifier, okay, dot set specialization, and the specialization that I want is the specialization that we have here, like that. So that is what we want. But we want to make sure that the original list here, it also listens from this provider here, because we are gonna need to update that. So I'm gonna go to the doctor screen. Instead of passing this value here statically, I think we can pass it dynamically. And for that, I can say final specialization equals to ref.watch. Specialization is going to be doctor specialization provider. Let me see. Doctor specialization provider. Yeah, doctor specialization notifier provider. Sorry. It can get confusing sometimes. Final specialization equals to ref.watch specialization notifier provider. So I need to import this that way. So here, instead of just passing this value here, we can pass specialization like that. And here we can pass specialization as well, like that. So that way we have a list that is going to be rendered dynamically. instead of just passing a static value or a hard-coded value like we had before. So let me try to hot restart the app and see if what we have done is going to work. So if I go to doctor screen, now I can try to click on the eye, for example. As you can see now, it updates to show only the eye, okay? And for the limbs, there is nothing here in the limbs. And I should be able to click on this show all to show all of them here. So here in the doctor screen, this show all, I'm going to update this and set the specialization notifier provider.notifier, and I want to set the specialization to an empty string so that now when I press on show all, it loads all the doctor side once again. I want us now to work on when we tap on this doctor, for example, we get directed to the doctor details screen. And for that, we can go to the doctor list style widget. So let's go to the doctor list style widget. And as you can see, a list style always has an on tap. So what I want us to do is that we want to navigate to the doctor details screen. And I'm going to create that screen right now. I'm going to call it doctor details screen. And the doctor details screen is going to be a consumer stateful widget like that. And this doctor details screen is going to take a doctor, so final doctor, because the details of that doctor, and I'm going to import the doctor here, and I'm going to add required this.doctor like that. So I need to go to routes and register that path. Here in the main, I can go and add the doctor details. So it's /doctor details. So I just copied it from my code. So uproute.doctor.name. So it's also going to take, it's taking a doctor. So if I add that, it's taking a doctor. I'm gonna save that. And I'm gonna go to the doctor details screen now. So the doctor details screen, if I can show the message, the image. So the doctor details screen looks like this. So first of all, it shows the image of that doctor and also some of the information here, some of this, about, and also the buttons at the bottom. So we are going to do that. So first of all here, we are going to return a safe area. The child is going to be a scaffold, which has an app bar that says book and this particular doctor. So I'm going to go to the doctor lister, so because we want to know what we are doing, context.pushNamed, uproutes.doctordetails.name, and then we pass the extra as the doctor. Okay, exactly what we need here. And that is fantastic. So if I save that, we start the app once again. So if I go now to doctors, and if I click on Sarah Kim, for example, again, as you can see, we get directed to this screen. And since there is a lot of information here, we are going to need, of course, to have scrolling capabilities. And therefore, in the body, I want a padding, and I want padding in all directions. So edge inserts.all, and I'm going to pass 8.0, and the child of that padding is going to be a single child scroll view, and the child is a column. Column has children. So the first is going to be an image. So size config. So I use clip arrect because of the border radius .circular 20. So if you want that to have effect, you can add it instead of a clip arrect. Alternatively, you can just create a container that has that border radius, and then you have this image network as the child of that container, and you'll produce the same results. And then we are going to add a text. So I added a row here, okay, with the main axis alignment of space between, so that we can have spaces between them. So that is one is pushed up to the very far right, and the one to the very far left. Okay, so the icon is location on, and we have an expanded text widget with an overflow of text overflow.ellipsis. So again, here we can import our rating stars here, and the text we can say text is widget.doctor.ratings, and I'm going to add some spacing because there's a space between this and that. So I'm going to add some spacing here with a size box of height of 10. And now I want a row for this number and this message. Now this row, it has two containers. So the first container has a height of 40 and a width of 30% of the screen width, okay? And it has a decoration. Of course, the color is colors.main color, our blue color, and has a border radius of circular 10.0, so 10 pixels. As you can see, that container has like a rounded edges, okay? And the child is a row, so it has the first row is an icon button. So for the phone number, I place the icon of call, which has a size of 30, okay, and an expanded text, which has an overflow of text overflow.ellipsis, because sometimes the number can be large and it can go to the very end here. So you want to add the ... That's the purpose of overflow text overflow.ellipsis line here. The other container here, okay, it's the message, and we are going to implement this here later, so that when we click on this, we get directly to the conversation screen, where we can start having a conversation with this person. It has the similar configurations to the one for phone calls, but this one, of course, has an icon of message and has a text of message. So another thing that I'm gonna create now is this, another row here with 3 containers, and this 3 container each container has a column, and the children of those columns is an icon and a text, icon and a text, and icon and a text. So, and I'm gonna do that. Okay, so as you can see now, I have a row. It has a main axis alignment of space between, and it has 3 children. So each children is a container, and each container has a height of 100 and a width of 100, has a decoration of box decoration, a color of black 12. As you can see, it's a black that is faded, that is black 12, and a border radius of circular or of 20.0, so that we can have that rounded effect, as you can see. And therefore, inside it has a column, and it has a main axis alignment of center, so that all of them can be centered. And the first one has an icon of people, which has a size of 50, and a color of main color, our blue that is. And text is patience, okay. And at the bottom here is the widget.doctor. The number of patients, so the number of patients that this doctor has had, and then we interpolate it with a plus at the end, okay, so 0 plus. So it's similar case for the other container. So this one is for widget.doctor.years of experience, okay, as you can see here. And the last container here inside of that row is the one for reviews, okay. And here I had coded the text 1200, so this is just a hard-coded text. People should be able to go and add reviews, okay? Because I just thought that this tutorial will be very big if I added absolutely everything. So I just decided to hard-code some things. Also, these patients, they should be loaded dynamically. Once maybe a person books an appointment, that appointment should be registered, and that should be marked as a patient. And therefore, that information should then be loaded here. And so instead of displaying 0, there should be the number of patients that they had bookings with. Okay. So the other thing that we need to do is now to load the about, and also working on how to set to book an appointment. Okay, so outside the row, we are going to add this sized box, and then we add the text about with that style, okay. And then we add the text as widget.doctor.description, and below that we add the day, and we have some space at the bottom. So here, after the text, of course, it's another row. It has two items. The first one is an icon of calendar month, okay, and the second one, it's a container that is wrapped inside of a gesture detector, so that we can have that on top, so that we can be able to select a date. We are going to go on top here, and we are going to create the method to pick a date. You can have date time, select date, and then we are going to format that date. So I'm gonna add the method to format that date. So this method, formatted date, is going to format the date that we select into this format here. So we are going to add a package called the intel package that is going to help us with the formatting of this date. So go to pubspec.yaml file. I'm going to add the intel package. So this is the intel package, and I'm going to run pub-get, and with that we have added the intel package. So I can go back to doctor details screen. Okay, now I can import the intel package. So let me now create a method that is going to show us the date picker, and then we can select a certain date, and then when we click on OK, we get that particular date. So this is the picked date. Okay, so the initial date is, if we had already selected a date, it's going to show that, else it's going to show the current date. Okay, the one that we are getting here using the datetime.now. So the first date is going to be today. Okay, now.year, now.month, now.day. So it's going to be that particular day. And the last date, I want it to be today's date plus that days. So, and therefore here we can use set state to now update the selected date to the picked date. Okay, so that is the purpose of this set state. So we are going to update the UI with that. Okay, now at the bottom here, now this on top, we are going to call that method. Okay, we are going to call that method pick date. And now the text here is going to be the selected date. If the selected date is not null, we show the formatted date. Okay, as you can see, this formatted date returns a string, is a method that returns a string. Okay, so we can pass that here at the bottom. Else we are going to just show tap to select a date. So if I save that and hot reload, as you can see now, right now we do not have as a date. That is why it's saying tap to select a date. But if I tap on that, as you can see now, we cannot select yesterday. Okay, and we cannot select any months from there. But if we go here again, it's that days. Now we cannot select like any other days here in June. So I'm going to select maybe 7th next week on Wednesday, and I'm going to click OK. And with that, it updates the day here. So I want us to do the same for the time. Okay, so it's also going to be yet another row here. So this is another row here. So the first element of that row is the icon. The icon is access time. And we are going to create another method to allow us to pick the time. And we are also going to format that time and return a string that we are going to have here. Okay, so I'm just going to go at the very top here once again. Time of day, selected time. So this one was for formatting the date. And now I want one for formatting the time. Okay, so this is going to format the time. Okay, so this is how it's going to format the time, like 8:05 p.m., etc. Now, let us now work on a method that is going to allow us to select the time. So this is the method pick time. This method, so the initial time is going to be the time that was selected earlier. Okay, if there was a time that was selected, else is going to show the current time. Okay, so after that, now we are going to update the selected time, okay, to the picked time. And therefore now we can use this selected time at the bottom here. So if you come here at the bottom, as you can see, selected time is equals to, so if selected time is not equal to null, we show the formatted time. Okay, else we show this text select time. So if I save this, let me restart the app. As you can see, now we have that select time. Okay, so finally we need a button to book an appointment. The button is going to be a common button with the method on tap and the text book appointment, as you can see, like that. Hopefully you can be able to pause, and maybe if you're coding along, you can be able to type every single line of code. Okay, now I want us to work on booking an appointment. Let me go to bookings here. As you can remember, we created this folder bookings when we were creating the booking screen. And inside the domain, we're going to create our model class. I'm going to call it booking. So here we are going to create class booking. Okay. And inside this class, we are going to create now the properties of each and every booking. So each booking is going to have a string ID, a user ID, a doctor ID, the time that it was booked, the date, and also the service that was booked. Okay, so I'm just going to generate the data class section. I'm going to select all of them. And so this ID here in the constructor, the ID, we are not going to provide the ID. So the ID is going to be from Firestore. So at the moment, I'm just going to have it like that. Now we have our booking model class. I want us to go to data, and we are going to create a booking repository to now connect to Firebase and save that booking. Okay, so this is class booking repository. So inside here, we are going to access the Firestore. So Firebase Firestore, and I'm gonna create a constructor, this .firestore. So let me create a method to make a booking. Okay, so this is our method, save a booking. So it's going to have a required booking. So this is the booking itself. Okay, so it's going to be booking.copyWith. So it's going to be that booking, and then we change the ID, so docref.id, because as you remember at the beginning we did not have that ID. Okay, we left an empty string. Okay, and now we can await docref.set the booking.toMap. Okay, and that is going to save our booking to Firestore database. Another thing that we should do is, since we are already in this booking repository, is to load the bookings that have been made by a particular user. Okay, so like we are going to access the collection booking. Okay, and we are going to go through all the bookings that have been made and load the bookings that are of that particular user. So let me create a method for that. So, and here it is. So it's going to be a list of bookings. Okay, so because it's going to be listening to that list, so it's a stream list of bookings. I'm going to call it load user bookings, and we are going to pass the user ID because we are going to get the bookings of that particular user ID. Okay, and so it's going to collection bookings where the user ID is equals to the past user ID. Okay, and then it's going to query that, and it's going to return us a list. Also, I want us to return the bookings of the doctor, because if the user is logged in as a doctor, we want to see the bookings that have been made, the bookings that users have made with that particular doctor. And therefore here it is. So we have a stream list of bookings. So load doctor bookings, and we are going to pass the doctor ID. Okay, and so it's going to access all the bookings and look at the doctor ID. If it is equal to that doctor ID, it's going to query that and return us that list. Because as you can see in the bookings.dat, we are also saving a doctor ID. Fantastic. So now let me create methods so that we can run the build runner again and create providers for us. Okay, so these are the methods. The one returns the booking repository with the Firebase Firestore.instance. So the other one is for loading the user bookings. Okay, and the other one is for loading the doctor bookings. So here at the top, of course, I need to add the part booking repository.g.dat. And with that, I can run the build runner once again so that we can create the providers. If I can go back to booking repository. Okay, now since we have this save booking method, we will want us to update the state so that when it is finished, we can show some sort of message. I want us to go to bookings once again. Inside the controllers, I'm going to create booking controller. So this is the booking controller class. Okay, so this is the method future bool save booking, and there's a reason why I created it to return a bool, because we are going to track if successful. We are going to show an alert dialog saying that it was successful. In the async value.guard, we execute booking repository.save booking, passing the booking. So let me once again run the build runner. And of course, you can pause the video and write the code if you want to. Okay, so let us go back to the doctor details screen and try to make a booking. Okay, so to make a booking, we are going to come here on the tab button. So the booking can only be saved if we click on this button, of course. And for that, I want us to collect that information and try to save it to Firebase. So here we are going to say final booking equals to booking. We are going to import that. The user ID is going to be the current user ID. And for that, we need to go at the very top of the file, the build, because we need to access that. I want us to get the current user ID. So current user ID, which is going to be ref.watch, current user provider.uid. And of course, since we are going to be updating the state, we can say state ref.watch booking controller provider. Okay, and I'm going to import this. And of course, if we get an error, we should listen to that error as well, like that. So if we get an error, we are going to display that error. Okay, so this state, first of all, let me copy that. So here is loading is going to be state dot is loading, like that. So of course, here in the booking that we want to create, we want to first of all to pass the current user ID. We pass the doctor ID, the widget dot doctor dot user ID, the time, which is the formatted time, the date, the formatted date, sorry, and the service, the widget dot doctor dot specialization. That is the service that we want, maybe the eyes, or ears, etc. Again here, since we want to use a weight here, we can pass a sync. Okay, so final result is equals to a weight, and this is going to be a bool. Okay, so if we don't await it, it's going to return a future. It's going to return a future, and we do not want a future. We want to await it so that we can have a Boolean value that we can use to show an alert dialog. So if result, we want to have the code here for showing the alert dialog. Okay, so if result, we want to show dialog passing the context. Okay, and of course the builder takes the context, and we are going to return an alert dialog. So the title is appointment booked successfully. When we click on OK, we want to just to pop it out, or we can say navigator.off context.pop. We are going to just pop that alert dialog off the screen. So I can go to William Bell, for example. Maybe I want him to check my ears for whatever reason. So I'm gonna go to tap to select a date, and I'm gonna save this to 7th. Click on OK, and I'm gonna select time. Okay, and I'm gonna click on book appointment. So when I click on it, it should change this text to a loading indicator. So I'm gonna click on that. As you can see, it's loading, and since it is successful, it says successfully. So if I go to bookings here, it's going to show all the bookings. As you can see, this is the latest one that I have made. This is the date of the booking, the doctor ID, the ID of the booking, the user ID, etc. Now, since we can book an appointment, I want us to be able to load appointments before we finish off with messaging. I'm gonna go to booking screen. So this is what the booking screen looks like. So we can have the upcoming bookings here, and then we can tap on this past bookings. We are gonna display yet another screen that is going to show past bookings. So this is a consumer stateful widget, and it's going to have a mixin, which is single ticker provider state mixin. And in there, we are going to have a tab controller, our tab controller. We're also going to have a selected index, okay, because we want to know which tab is currently selected. We are going to, and of course, the two categories are upcoming bookings and past bookings. And inside the init state, we have to initialize our tab controller, setting it the length of 2, because we are going to have 2, that is upcoming and past, and set the vsync to this. And of course, we have to dispose this tab controller by overriding dispose and doing tab controller.dispose to dispose it. So let me go back, and I'm gonna go to bookings. Okay, so this is the screen that I'm currently working on. And inside the build method, first of all, we need to set the index for the tab controller. So tab controller.index is the selected index. And now we are going to, instead of returning a container, we are going to return a scaffold. And the scaffold is going to have an app bar that says my bookings. Let me import styles, app styles, like that. And now the body is going to be a column. Column has children. So we want to have some space at the top. So I'm going to add a text box here and have a sized box. I want us to have a list view builder here, and the list view builder inside of a column will give an error, so we have to encapsulate it inside of a sized box. So this sized box, the child is going to be a list view builder. So the item count is going to be categories.length, and the item builder, of course, it takes the context and the index. And inside here, we are going to return a container. But actually, we are going to return a gesture detector, but we need to change the selected index to the index, to this particular index, so that we can be able to switch between the screens. So inside the gesture detector, so the child is going to be a container, and this container is gonna have different colors depending on whether it is selected or whether it is not selected. We are going to have a container, a height of 40, and it's going to have a padding horizontally and vertically, and the margin of 10 on the left. So it has a border radius of 20, but the color changes on whether it is selected or it is not selected. If it is selected, the color is the main color, our blue color, and when it is not selected, the color is the color .gray. Then the text is going to be the categories, the current index. So now we need to add a tab bar view, okay? And we need it to take the entire space. So again here, as it suggested me here, we are going to have an expanded widget, and the child is going to be a tab bar view. So remember, we did this in the home screen, tab bar view. And the children is going to be a const list of upcoming booking screen and past booking screen. The tab view has a controller, and the controller is the tab controller. Okay, so I need to create the upcoming booking screens and the past bookings. Let me restart there. Forgot to add a scroll direction. Now, as you can see, if I select them, they display different screens. So that's all with the booking screen. But now I want us to go to the past booking screen, or maybe you can start with upcoming booking screen to load our upcoming bookings. So first of all, we are gonna need to load our user ID. And of course, we are going to load the bookings and also our information, okay? And also the doctor's information. The user ID, first of all, we need to get our user ID, okay? So, or the user ID of the logged in user. So user async value. So this is for loading the information of this user, and bookings async value. So loading the user bookings, okay? Passing the user ID. So we need to figure out how to get the upcoming booking. And we can do that by checking the date of today and then checking the booking.date, because remember, every booking is saved with a date, okay? And compare that date. So if that date is past, that booking is going to appear in the past bookings. But if that date is not passed already, we are going to load that in the upcoming bookings. And here I have a method called getUpcomingBookings that takes a list of bookings, okay? So it's gonna go through those bookings and it's gonna compare the date of that booking with today's date. But okay, so we are going to return a scaffold here, but the body is going to be an async value widget. So here, first of all, I want the app user here. So the value is going to be user async value. Data here, user data. And first of all, we are going to get the user type because we don't know who is logged into this app. So for user, we are going to define for user and for the doctor. So if you are logged in as a user, we are going to show the details of the doctor inside the cards, okay? But if we are logged in as a doctor, we are going to we should see the details of our patients in those particular cards, okay? We are going to say if user data dot type is equals to doctor, okay? So we want to load the bookings of that particular doctor, and as you can remember, the doctor booking async value requires us to pass the ID of that doctor, and for this case, we are just going to use user data dot user ID, and for that we are going to return a async value widget of type list, a list of bookings, and the value is going to be doctor async value. The data is going to be doctor bookings, okay? So the upcoming bookings are going to be get upcoming bookings passing the list of those doctor bookings, okay? So that is how we are using this method. And so if upcoming bookings is empty, we are just going to return a text that says no doctor bookings yet. else we are going to return a list view with the item count being upcoming bookings.length. Again, since now we are a doctor, we want to load information of the user ID, okay, or bookings.user ID, or the person who made that booking. And with that, again, we use an async value widget. We get the user data and the upcoming booking widget. So we are going to create this upcoming booking widget inside the widgets here. But so I'm just going to, let me create it here. Okay, so let me just import it here like that. If the user is a doctor, we are going to show that. So else this means that this user is not a doctor, and we're just going to return their bookings. So it gets the value is the bookings async value. Okay, the data is that list of bookings. If you hover over it, you can see it's going to be a list of bookings. And then, of course, we want to get the upcoming bookings. By getting the upcoming bookings, passing the bookings there, and then you're going to return. If upcoming bookings is empty, we just show no bookings yet, okay? Or else we show a list view builder with item count upcoming bookings.length. The item builder, we are gonna use it to return once again the upcoming booking widget, okay? Like this. And of course, in the upcoming booking widget, we pass that information. The date is the booking date. The specialization is the service, okay? The image URL is the doctor data.image URL. Of course, the name is the name of that doctor. The icon is delete, and the time, the booking time. So if I can save that, and as you can see, we have one upcoming booking. That is the William Bell. This is the one that I've just made, okay? May 7, 6:30 p.m., okay? So this is the upcoming booking. Let us go and work on the past bookings now. And these past bookings, they are going to be very, very similar to what we have done here. We have to get the user ID, we have to load the user information, and also the bookings, okay? But then again, we have to get past bookings, okay? We get the current date. So since it is similar to what we did here, I'm just going to paste the code here just to avoid repeating myself. So if I save that, the app is going to hot reload automatically. So if I go to past bookings, for now it says no bookings yet, because for sure I did not have any past bookings. The other thing that I want us to do is working on chatting, okay? So if I go to here to doctors and click on Sarah Kim, for example, and click on this message, I want us to be directed to sending this person a message. And for that, I'm going to go to the doctor details screen, and we are gonna add that functionality here. Let me go to chat. I'm gonna go to chat. In the screens, I'm going to add another file, which I'm gonna call conversation. Since you are coming from this screen, of course, you are going to require some information, and that information is going to be the current user ID, the receiver ID, or this person that you're going to send to, and also the receiver name, okay? And now if we go to doctor details screen here, we are gonna pass that information. So I'm gonna go to routes. I'm going to create another route here to go to the conversation screen. So I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna copy conversation. I'm gonna paste here. I'm gonna pass here. And here, remember you are sending three different strings, okay? So in the routes, we cannot just create 3 different screens and try to send here. What we are gonna do is that I want us to create a class that is going to help us handle passing all these strings. And for that, I'm going to go to chat once again. Inside the domain, I'm going to create a class, conversation args, and of course, I'm gonna need to create a constructor. So we can go back to routes, and now here we can say final args equals state.extra as conversation args. And now inside here, we are going to pass current user ID equals to args.current user ID. I can import this and I can say receiver ID equals to args.receiver ID. And of course, I can say a receiver name equals to args.receiver name. When I come here to conversation details, doctor details, sorry, I can say context.push named app routes conversation.name, and extra is going to be conversation args. Current user ID as a current user ID, receiver ID is widget.doctor.user ID, and receiver name is widget.doctor.name. So I need to import this conversation args class like that. I need to restart it because I have edited the routes. So now if I click on Sarakim, for example, and click on message, so in the conversation screen, once we navigate to the conversation screen, the one that I cannot for whatever reason, we are first of all going to load the previous chat, okay? And then at the bottom there, we are going to have a button to send another message. Since you are going to send another message, you are going to have a message controller, a text editing controller, and which we are going to dispose. Maybe before we continue with this conversation screen, so we have chats and we have the individual messages, okay? So chats are the one that are going to appear. So if I can show the image, so these are chats. So these are different chat, a chat, of course. So the messages are gonna be like this. So if like I chat with Anna and now click on that chat, then the conversation screen is gonna be like this. I'm gonna go to domain and I'm going to create a new class. This class is the chat class, okay? And every chat, so this is class chat. Each chat has a chat ID, at a last message, the time, and user IDs, okay? As you can see here, so this chat, or this is a chat, it has a chat ID, of course. It's gonna have user ID so that you can be able to display this image, and also that like their names. It's going to have the time, okay? So this time here, and this is going to have the last message, like this one, book today. We are going to have message. So every message is also going to have its own special properties. So message, and every message is going to have a chat ID. So the chat ID in which that message belongs to is going to have a message ID, a sender ID, receiver ID, the time, and also the message, okay? So if I go to data, I'm going to create a new file, which I'm gonna call chat repository. So this is class chat repository. All of these chats, of course, and all the messages are gonna be saved into Firestore. So final Firebase, Firestore, okay? And of course, I'm gonna need to create constructor. So chat repository, this.firestore. So the chat ID, I want it to be the combination of the ID of the person who is sending that message and the person who is receiving. And for that, I'm going to create a method, a small method for that. So this is the get chat ID. Okay, so this is a method send message. So it's going to require the sender ID, the receiver ID, and also the message, okay? So first of all, you get the chat ID, and as we said here, is going to be the IDs of the two people who are in that conversation. So the sender ID and the receiver ID that we receive here, okay? And the message doc is going to be chatdoc.collection messages, okay, .doc. So now we have an updated chat. So it's going to have that chat ID. The last message is going to be this message, okay? The time, okay, that is the current time, and also a list of the user IDs, okay? Now again, we are going to have a new message. So every message has a chat ID, it has a message ID, okay? And the message ID, of course, we have already created here. The sender ID, the receiver ID, the time, and also the message itself. And therefore now we are going to upload them to Firebase, okay? I want now to create a method to load the chats, Okay, so you need to load the charts, and this is a method to load each and every chart. Okay, and we are going to load the charts of that particular user ID, and then and therefore we are going to get in the collection charts where the user ID, okay, or the user IDs contains that user ID. So remember, the user IDs, it's a list. Okay, and in lists we can use array contains to find out if that list contains a string that we want, and for this case is that user ID. Okay, and we are going to order by time and order by descending. Okay, and then we are going to query that and return that list. Finally, we now need a method to load the messages. Okay, and here it is, the load message. So it takes the chart ID, because remember the messages are saved under the chart ID. So we are gonna go to Firestore.collection charts. Okay, .chart ID, that is the chart ID, .collection messages, and then we are going to order by time. Okay, and then we are going to query that and return that list. So finally, now I'm going to create methods that are going to be used in creating the providers in this class. So we have this method that is going to return the chart repository, this one that is going to return the charts. Okay, and the last one that is going to return the messages. So at the top here, of course, we should not forget to add part. This is chart repository .g.dat, like that. And then now I can go to command prompt, or here the console, and run the build runner once again. Okay, and with that we have created that successfully. So here in the chart screen we are going to load our charts, but first we are gonna start by getting the current user ID, and then we are gonna charts async value equals to ref.watch. So we are gonna say load charts provider, and then we are gonna pass the user ID like that. Set the body. We are now going to have an async value widget here of list charts. Okay, a list of charts. So I have to import it like that. So here, remember, it takes the value is the charts async value, and the data is the charts. So of course, I need to go to widgets and going to create a chart item. So here is going to take a chart. So final chart, import this chart and pass required this .chart, like that. So here for the chart, first of all, you are gonna need the current user ID. Okay, then we are going to get the receiver ID. But how do we get the receiver ID? Final receiver ID is going to be chart, exactly. So chart.userid's.first where, so you pass that ID where chart ID is not equals to the user ID. So that is going to be the receiver ID, because remember, when you are saving the chart ID is a combination of the receiver ID and the chart ID. Okay, so final user data async. So remember, now here you want to get that information of this person. Okay, you want to get the information of this person here, and the year name, of course. So user data async is equals to ref.watch load user information provider, passing the, now here we are going to pass the receiver ID like that. Now here we are going to return an async value widget. The value is the user data async. The data is going to be the user data. Remember, if we want now to move from the chat screen, now if we tap on one of these, we should be directed to this conversation screen. Okay, so this is the conversation screen that we should go. And remember, the conversation screen, we need to pass some things. We need to pass the receiver name, the receiver ID, and also the current user ID. And that is what is happening here. So we want to go to context.pushNamed. We want to go to the conversation. Okay, and we pass the extras. Okay, the conversation args, the current user ID, and the receiver ID. I'm going to create a new widget here in the utils, which I'm gonna call date formatter. So inside here, I create this method format date, which takes a string date. We should be consistent with the date that you want to use. So instead of this date that is displayed here, I think we should try to be consistent with the kind of date, like this kind of date here, and we can do that by this. Okay, so here I can import this formatted date, and it's going to format that. That is the chart item. So you can go back to the chart screen, and I can import the chart item. That. So as you can see, since we don't have any charts at the moment, we get no charts yet here, as we have programmed here in the app. Nice. So finally, we are gonna go back to the conversation screen, and now here we are gonna work on how we send the message, and also how these messages are displayed, how they are formatted, how if I'm the one who is sending, they are gonna appear from this side with a different background, etc. So here in the conversation screen, we are gonna need to load a few things. First of all, we are gonna need to load the chat ID, and we're also gonna need to load the messages. So when you navigate to the chats, you want to see the previous conversation, and also now you want to send a new message. Okay, and to do that, first of all, you need the chat ID and also the messages async value. This we are gonna use this to load the messages. Okay, so here we are going to return scaffold. The scaffold, of course, has an app bar, and the app bar is gonna be the chat with the receiver name. Okay, so it's gonna say something like this. It's gonna say chat with the receiver name. For this case, is Anna Baker. So these children are gonna be now the messages. So it's gonna be the messages are the message async value. Okay, because we want to load the messages in this chat. Now we get the messages. Now if the messages are empty, we are gonna say you have no messages. Okay, but if the list is not empty, we now want to return the message. So we now want to build the message to see how the message is gonna be displayed. And this message, we have to determine if I'm the one who sent that message. Okay, and of course the message itself. We are gonna build this message, and it's going to be required bool is me, whether I'm the one who sent the message, and of course is me here. We are comparing whether the sender ID equal to the current user ID. So if that is true, that means that you are the one who sent that message. Okay, so we are just going to return a container. It is of that width, so 75% of the screen width. Okay, and it has a decoration. So if I'm the one who sent the message, the color of that container is going to be our blue color. If not, it's going to be a gray color. Okay, and it has a border radius. Again, it looks, if I'm the one who sent that message, the border radius is going to be on the left side. Okay, and if I'm not the one, it's going to be on the right side. Okay, also is also going to have a padding, and that padding is going to be applied dynamically depending on whether I'm the one who sent that message or not. Okay, the child of that container is going to be a column. Okay, the first element of that column is going to be the date. Okay, so we format that date using the formatted date that I just created. Okay, and the other child of that column is going to be the message. So the message itself, the message that you sent, or the one that you have received. Okay, so that is basically the build message. So after build message, we're gonna have our message composer. So remember that in the chat repository, we are sending this message to Firestore, and we need to create a controller to be able to determine the state so that we can update the screen accordingly. So I'm gonna go to presentation controllers here. I'm going to create a file message controller. So this method send message is just going to have required the sender ID, the receiver ID, and the message itself. So I'm gonna run build runner, and that has created it for us. So here I'm going to just import the chat repository provider, dev.feed chat repository provider, like that. We are going to have the message controller here because we're going to need to update this state. So if I come here to the button, If it is loading, I want us to show the progress indicator here at the bottom, and else we are going to show the send icon. So the message requires a chat ID, which you already have, the sender ID, okay, the receiver ID, the time, okay, the time they just use the datetime.now.toString to save the time, and also the message. So the message you get through the message controller.text, okay, and then you use the message controller provider.notifier.send message to send that particular message, okay, and after that message is sent, we use message controller.clear to clear that to clear the text field, okay, so that to clear this part and go to send a message once again, okay, and of course here we update the state of that container. So with that, you should be able to send the message and also to retrieve them. So I'm just gonna come here and I'm going to uncomment this, the message controller and the chat ID, like that. Cool. Now with that, you can be able to send a message and retrieve the messages from Firestore. Again, try using the physical device to see whether it will allow you to be able to come to this place, and whether it allow you to navigate to this, to the actually it has accepted this time, okay. So let me try to send a message to Sarakim. If I click on send, again, as you can see, it is updating the state here at the bottom, and again here, as you can see, once the message has been sent, it is cleared here at the bottom, it is cleared, and now we have that. So if Sarah replies, it will come to this side with a color of gray, okay. So I think the last thing that we now need to do, the very last thing that we need to do, if I'm not wrong, is updating this place, okay. So we need to update this place here to show the upcoming booking. So I'm gonna go to home screen. Now here we just show the container saying no upcoming booking, but we are going to create a method to try and get that. I want us to look at all the bookings and look at the one that is the soonest. The soonest one is the one that we are going to display here, okay. So we're going to get the bookings of the current user, okay, like that, and then we are gonna get the time. So we are gonna use the Intel package here to get the date and to get the time, and then we are gonna create the method here that is going to utilize this, okay. So that is the method to get the upcoming booking. So it's going to take a list of all the bookings, and then it compares the date and time of those bookings, and then it's going to return the soonest booking, okay. So this is going to be a booking, so the latest booking. So it's going to compare the date and time of all those bookings in that list, and then this is going to return the one that is the soonest, okay. Now of course, instead of returning just the container, we want us to return the soonest booking. So here, after the text, your upcoming booking, so the next element in that column is going to be an async value widget, which is going to take the booking. The value is the bookings async value, and the data is going to be bookings. So the soonest booking is going to be get upcoming booking, and we are going to pass the list of bookings. As you can see here in the method, it is supposed to take a list of bookings, and that is exactly what we are passing here, okay. If it's not null, we are going to fetch the details of that doctor, okay, and we are going to return we are going to show the details of that in the upcoming booking widget, okay. So we are going to, the date is going to be the soonest booking.date, or rather the date of that booking. The image URL is the doctor URL, the doctor name, the service that we want, maybe the eyes or ears, okay. The time, of course, is going to be the soonest booking.time, okay. And the icon, you can use the icons.call here, okay. So else, if we don't have any booking, we can now use the one that we had earlier, this one, saying that we don't have any upcoming booking. If I save that, as you can see now, it's loading that, and as you can see now, we have that booking. So this is the upcoming booking. As you can see, we have many bookings, but the one that is soonest is the one that we are going to show. And that is what I'm gonna do for this video, sorry. There are many improvements that can be done in this app. It is not really complete. There are many tweaks that you can do. There are many features that you can add. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just gonna leave it there. So again, remember, it takes a lot of time to create these videos, to create these tutorials. That's why I'm asking you for you to support me so that I can continue creating this free content and helping you guys out. So for all the source code and also for the documentation of this project, you can find it in the description. Also, if you need maybe an app that you want someone to do for you, maybe it's a school project or maybe it's an app for your business, also you can contact me. I have all my details in the description. Anyway, that's all from me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.